one of our friends who's going to have his own show on KansasNation.com here very shortly. He once was perfect for the field from the Furman against the Furman Paladins. That's Greg Gurley. He is going to have a show with Mick Schaefer here on KansasNation.com. KU and Furman, they did battle on the hardwood this past season, but you're always going to remember the Jayhawks Paladins as the Greg Gurley game back in '93. Here's what we got going on today.
That's what I've always said. Paladins hate to see Greg Gurley coming.
Oh, they sure do. They sure do. We're doing a little KU whip around. Big Monday news came out today. The Hawks are going to be featured 3 separate times on Big Monday in the Big 12 slate. I didn't realize maybe it's always been like this. I feel like it hasn't. There's only 6 Big Mondays.
Yeah, it is a little weird. You would think there'd be more, right?
I feel like there used to be more, but now with the college football playoff,
that's true.
I think there must be something related.
I
saw that.
assumed it would be double digits, but at the same time, I guess with Monday Night Football too, right on ESPN, so that can kind of throw a wrench into
that's
things,
the transition.
Still,
it used to be Monday Night Football transitions to Big Monday, but now, of course, the national championship game and college football playoff are in there. Anyway, the college football playoff national championship game is Monday, January 19th, so they start the Big Monday after that. So just 6 Big Mondays with the ACC game at 6 Central and then the Big 12 game at 8 Central. KU, like Arizona, featured 3 times on the Big 12 slate. We'll talk about that. Do a little KU whip around as well here in the opening segment. Update you on KU soccer and a word or two on KU football as well as we head into our first of 3 open weeks. Next segment, we're going to hear from JD6, Jalen Daniels, who is always available to the media. Remember last year when KU had so many heartbreaking losses, he was the guy at the podium 100% of the time, answering questions, taking responsibility, even though I think everybody agrees that not much of this loss was on JD6, who played a great game again on Saturday in Columbia. 4:40, Dan, it's another Top 10 Tuesday. What inspired this one?
So it's a very special Top 10 Tuesday. They're all very special in my heart. What inspired this one, actually, it was you. You were the one who mentioned this. Shucks. It was actually Sean's idea in honor of boot camp starting with KU basketball and all those guys sweating their hearts out. This is probably the worst, week or 2 weeks or whatever it may be of their lives. I'm doing my top 10 hardest things that I have ever done in my life.
All right, so is this going to be like sentimental, or is this going to be?
No. It's not going to be. It's not going to get sad. It's like other. Right, it's just like physically hard things for me to do.
Yeah, we got to keep it light here on a top 10 Tuesday. Right. Top 10 hardest things in Dan's life that he's ever done. I guess. Looking forward to that. And then at 5 o'clock, we're going to be joined by Nick Springer of the Kansas City Sports Network. Nick, he wears his passion on his sleeve, and you're going to see that front and center at 5 o'clock, talking all things KU Mizzou. He was in Columbia. He was happy to be leaving Columbia, and you'll hear more about that at 5 o'clock. Bottom of the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from KU linebacker Trey Lathan and do a little top 25 breakdown as well on the college football slate from week 2. And then to close out the 5 o'clock hour, we are going to recap Monday Night Football. I thought Bears under. You thought Vikings over. Somehow, when it looked like the Bears were going to win in an under game, J.J. McCarthy came out of nowhere. What a debut, essentially, for him.
I know. Never count
out
my
a rookie.
Boy. Yeah, it did not look good. I had the over. I didn't say this on air, but I did have J.J. McCarthy over 2 touchdowns in that game. Wasn't looking good. All of a sudden, he had 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Man, J.J. looked good, really good down the stretch. Bad open to that game, but really good down the stretch.
Dan is really good at gambling advice when he gives you the advice after the game has happened.
Yeah.
So
it's always in retrospect.
He's the type of guy, when he hits a bet, he will tell you after the fact that he hit that bet.
Yeah, I will not shut up
just if a game actually hasn't happened yet, then don't take Dan's gambling advice. But it sounds like McCarthy got one for you there on Monday Night Football. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We're talking KU Big Monday, but first a shout out to Miles Schneider and Crown Automotive, everybody over there doing great things, and honestly a great partner here with us at Kansas Nation, and excited for that to continue on. All right, let's talk Big Monday. KU, 3 Big Monday appearances this upcoming season. Dan, this just came out about an hour ago as the Hawks are going to do battle with Texas Tech, Houston, and Arizona. Again, just 6 games. The KU Arizona game is going to be February 9th at Allen Fieldhouse, and then February 23rd, KU will host Houston. The one road game is February 2nd at Texas Tech. Did we play Houston last year? I don't remember. I feel like we didn't get scheduled, which they're supposed to schedule every team at least once, right?
I think from what I can remember, for some reason I just don't remember.
So this has got to be the first.
I don't remember any time we played Houston.
This has got to be the first meeting in a couple years against the Houston Cougars for KU basketball.
Who even is their head coach? I don't.
Rick Barnes, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Is Hakeem Olajuwon still on that team?
Yeah, Clyde Drexler.
Clyde Drexler still there. Okay, cool.
Where did Clyde Drexler go to school? Did he go?
That sounds right.
Well, no, because he played for the Rockets.
Yeah, but I know the only reason I knew Hakeem is because Hakeem also played for the Rockets too.
We'll have to ask Gabe Boucher if he knows where Clyde Drexler went to school. Let's see. All right. Well, obviously he played for the Rockets.
Oh, wait, let me guess. UNLV.
We were right. He went to Houston.
Oh, look,
we called it. He went to Houston.
Okay, you're all right.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know.
So he was Houston as we expected, Clyde the Glide, and then obviously played with Houston Rockets. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't played them in so long,
right?
That we're not familiar with the Houston University.
Geez, the last time KU played Houston, it's not even coming up in my mind. So it probably was a forgettable game, right?
Well, it was actually 2 times ago that you're forgetting on purpose, as we lost to him at the Fertitta Center in March as well. 65-59. We lost to Houston twice last year, lost by 6 at the Fertitta Center to close out the regular season. KU went 11-9 in the regular season, and of course the disastrous game at Allen Fieldhouse at the end of January last year. KU also lost at Allen Fieldhouse to Texas Tech. Mentioned that's one of the 3 big Monday games coming up on February 2nd, but that one will be taking place at United Supermarkets in Lubbock, so that'll be a test as always, as Texas Tech, from essentially being nothing when I was growing up, has a really good program now. Grant McCasland running the show there in Lubbock. They're losing a couple guys, as we know, headlined by Darion Williams, but that'll be a test on the 2nd. And then Arizona, KU actually beat Arizona at Allen Fieldhouse on Senior Day and then played them just the next week, losing to them ultimately. KU the 6th seed, Arizona the 3 seed in the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. Your thoughts on this big Monday slate, and tell us some of the other matchups that are going down outside of KU.
Yeah, so I like the 3, obviously, that KU has. I kind of figured that it'd be KU, Iowa State. I thought that would be one, but instead it's going to be Kansas at Texas Tech. Then it's going to be Arizona at Kansas, and then Houston at Kansas. Obviously, 3 big games. I know Arizona lost a few guys. Henry Vasar, obviously, no longer there. Same with Houston. Same with Texas Tech. It's going to be a whole brand new look, but also at the same time, it's going to be a brand new look KU squad as well, headlined by Darren Peterson, the only returning guy who really got any minutes at all. Not even just any. He was the only guy who played last year was Flory Bidunga. So, it's going to be a new look for a lot of these squads. Again, I thought Kansas, Iowa State might be a headliner on there, but I like these other 3 games. Starting January 26th, you're going to have Arizona at BYU. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then you got Houston at Iowa State. That's going to be a big time matchup up at the Hilton. Man, that's going to be a big one. That's going to be on February 16th. And in March 2nd, for the last big Monday, it's going to be Iowa State at Arizona, going down to the desert. So that's going to be a lot of fun, too. So a lot of the same teams, right? BYU only has 1. Then you see a lot of Iowa State, a lot of Arizona, a lot of Kansas. Texas Tech, I believe, only has 1 of those as well. So that kind of shows you what ESPN kind of thinks about the Big 12 and how they view the top of the Big 12, really. It's Kansas, Iowa State, Houston, and Arizona.
You brought up that Iowa State, Arizona. Remember, last time they played at the McKale Center was the Caleb Love 70-foot shot, which is crazy. But yeah, that'll be a good one. So let's take a quick peek at these opponents for KU on the big Monday slate mentioned last year. Start with Texas Tech. Again, that's coming up February 2nd in Lubbock. They got us last year in the lone meeting in Allen Fieldhouse, 78-73. Tech was up by 11 at half. They shot 43 threes in this game. They hit 15 threes, 15 of 43, which actually isn't that great of a percentage. No. It's about an average percentage, but just the sheer volume of it.
Threes,
and a lot of different guys, 7 different guys hit threes. Darion Williams had a couple. He had 14 points, but JT Toppin, despite having foul trouble early, you remember, ended up coming out and dominating. He had 21 points in this one. Christian Anderson, that was the first that we got to see him. Of course, Williams isn't back as he's transferred to NC State, but JT Toppin, the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, is back.
Well, I thought there was a 70% chance Darion Williams was going to come
to
Kansas.
That was my understanding, right? Ask the California kid about that, because that's what he gave. And if you ever hear us referencing that number, 70% to Henry Greenstein, the California kid, it's because of that. He once told us, and this is not a stab at Henry.
No.
It's just a little inside joke. But when it was looking like Darion Williams was going to come to KU, we were thinking, all right, this is very, very positively trending
Feels
Kansas
like
direction, and Greeny gave a 70% chance, and obviously that didn't work out. But top in returns for Texas Tech, and obviously Christian Anderson as well, the young guard who's not afraid to stroke it. And then on February 9th, KU and Houston. Dan, let's talk about it. 92-86, the end of January last year. KU had this thing won. Probably the most unlikely loss for Kansas from a percentage standpoint, certainly a win percentage, win probability standpoint since I've been alive. Inability to get the ball inbounds, a couple hero plays from Houston, and they knocked KU off by 6 and then got them by 6 again at the end of March.
Yeah, let me think. It's been so long ago, and I've always it's been one of those repressed memories. I believe Kansas had an opportunity. DeJuan Harris was at the free throw line to go up 6,
to go up 7,
to go up 7, to go up. To go up 3 scores and misses his free throws. Houston goes down, hits an insane 3-pointer.
Emmanuel Sharp's first 3 of the game.
Man, that's right.
KU is up 79-73.
Again, this is a repressed memory. This is like usually I don't. This doesn't happen to me unless I'm in therapy. But that game was just absolutely. That was the worst game. I think that's kind of puts a microcosm of what that season really was. And it was just the fact that Kansas was not able to finish out games, and the fact that, they just didn't have what it took to close anything out, right? And you had the opportunity with 16 seconds left to go up by 3 scores, and you still wind up losing that game. A testament to Houston, though. I mean, obviously, Kelvin Sampson is a very good coach, and Juwan Roberts, and all of those guys on that squad were just absolutely fantastic basketball players. That's why they were the national runner-up, right?
Houston loses, of course, Cryer and Roberts, but they return Milos Uzan, they return Emmanuel Sharp, they return JoJo Tugler, a top defender in the conference as well. So, yeah, that was as tough as it gets. KU up 79-73 with 16 seconds left. The 2 missed free throws, the Sharp 3. KU throws it away, can't get an inbounds multiple times, and it was Malik Wilson, actually, not one of their best players, who tied it with a 3 at 79, and then disaster struck in overtime as well with the out-of-bounds under. And, yeah, kind of to your point, Dan, this, to me, was one of those games where it kind of you didn't want to think at the time, because there was so much basketball left to be played, that it kind of ended the season, but maybe just from an emotional standpoint for Kansas. Obviously, they fought. They won games after that, and certainly they won't say that it affected them, I'm sure. But it was such a gut punch, because Kansas, had they won that game, was back in the 1 seed, 2 seed conversation for the NCAA tournament, and they could get back to convincing themselves they had a shot at the Big 12 regular season championship. But then all of a sudden they lose. They were 3 back of Houston in the league race, and it just never was recovered by the Jayhawks. They end up going 11-9, and yeah, they lost at the Fertitta Center, like I mentioned, in early March, as their second loss to Houston. They did beat Arizona at Allen Fieldhouse 83-76, then lost to them the following week in the Big 12 tournament. Arizona, of course, they're losing Caleb Love, but returning a lot of talent. So those are the 3 big Monday releases as it relates to our Jayhawks for this upcoming season. KU at Texas Tech February 2nd, Arizona at KU February 9th, and then KU hosting Houston on February 23rd. So get those marked down. I know that we are eagerly awaiting the full release of the schedule for the conference. Any day now. Usually it happens in September, but the full conference schedule with locations, dates, that sort of thing. We know who Kansas is facing at home. We know who they're facing on the road. We know who they're facing twice. We just don't have dates and times quite yet, but that'll come out, I'm sure, a little bit later this month. I do want to update you really quick before we talk a little KU football about KU soccer and KU volleyball. KU soccer, Dan, still undefeated. They knocked off Yale and continue to play well.
Yes, they beat those nerds. Now they have 2 ties on the season, one against Utah State and the other one against the number 2 team at the time in the nation, Florida State. Nate Lee and company has done such a great job, and Sophie Daw, shout out to her, just an outstanding goalkeeper for this Jayhawks squad, continuously just pitching low scoring games. Just a phenomenal job by her on the defensive end. I think that's where this Kansas team really thrives, is on the defensive end of the ball. They have a lot of low scoring games. So shout out to Coach Lee and company. And as of right now, I mean, I can really see them making a case to go back to back and win 2 Big 12 championships in a row. I mean, this is that's the first time last year that any new coach had ever come in Big 12 soccer history and won the Big 12 tournament in his first year. I don't see, I don't think it's that crazy to think that, hey, maybe Nate Lee could potentially do this once again. There's a lot of really good competition in the Big 12 in soccer, but I think Kansas is certainly up there, especially with playing this non-con that they have. I mean, they played really, really solid teams. Their next game, September 14th against Liberty. And then after that, they're starting conference play with Oklahoma State. I think that Kansas is going to start off really hot in conference play. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
5-0-2 KU soccer is this season. Liberty closes out the non-con slate, as Dan said, and then the first Big 12 game is on the road next Thursday against those Cowgirls, and then KU's back at home Thursday, September 25th. So it'll be a while before they're back at Rock Chalk Park, but that's when they host Baylor. 5-0-2, and hey, Kansas has an elite goalkeeper. She's only a sophomore, Sophie Dahl. That's going to win you a lot of games when you have somebody who's that good at preventing the opposition from scoring the ball. KU women's volleyball, they're 3-4. They lost to Purdue after winning the first 2 at the tournament in West Lafayette. The Purdue tournament, of course, they knocked off Bowling Green 3-1, and then also a 4-set victory over number 23 Georgia Tech, which was great to see KU getting a victory in the top 25. But then they fell, wouldn't you know it, in 5 sets to the homestanding Boilermakers. KU 3-4. All 4 of their losses are 5-set losses, and all 4 to teams ranked in the top 25. Purdue is ranked number 17. KU volleyball has been out on the road all season. They're going to continue that. Thursday, they take on Florida Gulf Coast. Friday, Green Bay, and Saturday, South Dakota. That's all at the South Dakota tournament. Expecting a lot of success and a lot of wins coming up Thursday through Saturday at the South Dakota tournament for women's volleyball. They are number 17 now in the AVCA poll. So they started the year at 14. Lost 3 games to top 15 teams, and they were 1-3, dropped to number 15, and now with the loss to Purdue, they've dropped to number 17, but still holding firm in the top 25.
I do like the fact that
great quality of competition.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to say, I love the fact that the AVCA sees that and they go, yeah, sure. They have a losing record right now after 7 games, but all of those losses have been to teams in the top 17, right? The first 3 to teams in the top 15. So you look at that and you go, man, I mean, that's obviously really tough. They take every single one of them to 5 sets and barely lose it at the end. I think they see that, okay, Coach Matt Ulmer, obviously he's in a brand new environment and he brought in a lot of new girls, and they're still taking all of this very talented squads to 5 sets. So the AVCA completely understands that, where they're like, okay, well, look, obviously they do have a losing record, but we're only going to bump them down just a couple because we see the talent that this KU volleyball squad has.
No doubt, and they're not going to be home until September 26th. So after that South Dakota tournament, there's a road game in the midweek against Wichita State at Charles Koch Arena, Tuesday the 16th. That's a week from today. And then the Omaha tournament, KU will head over there to take on Omaha, South Dakota, and Creighton in what should be another tough battle. The Jayhawks and the Blue Jays in volleyball have always put together instant classics, so that'll be fun. But then they do return home, the start of conference play in a Zoe Burgess revenge game, Friday, September 26th at Horse Family Volleyball Arena. It'll be great to see all this new talent actually in person in the first year under Matt Ulmer. And Dan, I want to ask you, before we get to Jalen Daniels' next segment, we're going to hear from JD6 post game. We talked a lot yesterday, of course, and we're going to ask more about the game on Saturday with Nick Springer when he joins us at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. But I want one legitimate concern you have after watching the game on Saturday, and one positive that you take away from KU's loss to Mizzou and Columbia.
So with the concern, there's a few, right? I mean, you look at the wide receiver group and just building that chemistry. You want that chemistry to continue to grow, because there were a lot of drops there towards the end of the game that I thought were very costly to Kansas. But I'm not going to go that route. I think I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball and just talk about the rush defense. And they did a very good job at containing Bo Prabula. That was the big story going into that game is, hey, you have to be able to contain Bo Prabula. You can't let him get flushed out of the pocket because guess what? He's really good on his legs. The kid is a dual threat quarterback, and Kansas did a fairly good job in terms of kind of shutting him down in the rush game. The difference is that their running backs, they had two running backs who got over 100 yards. One of them had 146 yards. You absolutely cannot let that happen. So for me, it's just being able to stop those inside zones, the powers, right? The bellies. They were running the hell out of the ball, right? And Kansas, they couldn't really do anything about it. So yes, the front line was getting a lot of penetration. You saw Tommy Dunn back there. You saw Keenan Caldwell get a sack or two. You saw DJ Withers get back there, but they weren't able to finish tackles. And if I don't know the stats on it, but as of right now, I mean, Ahmad Hardy, the majority, I would say probably over 60 to 70% of his yards were after contact. So they have to clean up tackling, gang tackling, and taking down the ball carrier at the point of attack. That is my main concern with this Kansas squad. And they have essentially 2 weeks to get it figured out, right? I'm sure they're going to be doing a lot of tackling drills with Coach DK, with Coach Simpson, and they're probably going to be really hyper focusing on that. Now, granted, I was going to say West Virginia, they have a really good running back, but as of right now, I believe he's going to be out for the rest of the season with Jaheim White. So I don't know what West Virginia's run game is going to look like, whether or not they change their scheme entirely because he was their best player on offense. So that's going to be really tricky, but they do need to figure out taking down the ball carrier at the initial point of attack. Now, positives for Kansas, I thought the tight ends was phenomenal, right? I thought, and in particular, Deshaun Hanukkah. Deshaun Hanukkah really became what we thought Cam Pickett was going to be at the beginning of the season. We saw Cam Pickett in those first two games get 3 touchdowns, a ton of receptions. And that's kind of what we said in the offseason was, oh, Cam Pickett's going to be that guy who gets a lot of those receptions, right? He's going to be the reception leader. He's not going to beat you downfield with those deep shots. That's more of an Emmanuel Henderson, Levi Wentz type of player. Cam Pickett's going to be the guy. Well, guess what? Cam Pickett, a little bit banged up. I think he maybe had 1 or 2 receptions. Deshaun Hanukkah was the guy. So it makes you feel really good about that because looking at last year, Kansas didn't really have that kind of threat at the tight end spot. And we love Jared Casey, friend of the show, had him on a couple times, as well as Trevor Cardell, obviously a really good tight end. But at the same time, you want a guy who is like Mason Fairchild, who is big and can get over guys and on that sort of tight end seam, which we didn't even see the tight end seam except for one time last year. And that was a dropped ball by a wide open Leighton Cure. And then we never ran it again. That's the most frustrating thing to me about last year is they underutilized the tight end. But I really liked the way that the tight end was being used against Mizzou. So that's my main positive is, okay, well, now we have confidence in our tight ends. So now it needs to transfer over to the wide receivers, I guess. So I think that there is kind of there is a little bit of a transition because obviously we did see Emmanuel Henderson beat a couple guys deep, but it was against Wagner, right? We saw Cam Pickett beat a couple guys. He was in the backfield on the 2 touchdowns he had against Fresno State. So I want to see the wide receivers really be able to step it up. But I liked what I saw out of the tight end groom. And then, looking at Bowden Gruen and Carson Brune as well, the law firm of Gruen and Brune. I like the way that they block. I think that their blocking has been phenomenal. That's the biggest thing about Jared Casey from last year is you look at that and you go, yeah, I mean, he's smaller, but at the same time, he's really good in pass pro and he's really good at run blocking. I don't think they've taken a step back. I think Bowden Gruen and Carson Brune are very, very good blockers. So I liked the tight end room, and I liked what I saw out of those guys.
Well, KU's going to have to figure out how they can get their running backs to the next level. 9 carries, 11 yards for anybody not named Jalen Daniels in that one against Mizzou. And you got to play complementary football where you have both the pass game and the run game working and not ask JD to do so much. JD didn't have the greatest looking box score ever. Of course, the last throw ended up counting as an interception, and he ends up going 18 for 30, but there were at least 3 dropped balls, and again, he didn't get a lot of help from his run game either. So definitely some question marks. Not an embarrassing loss, not one that we're happy about because you never want to lose to the team over there, but not an embarrassing loss by any stretch. KU's goals are definitely still ahead of them.
That was another concern that that I just remembered is, and I can't believe because I went on a whole tangent about it yesterday, is the run game. I want to see Daniel Hishaw break one loose. I feel like we haven't really seen that yet. He did get a touchdown against Wagner, right? I think it was about a 19, 18-yard or somewhere around there, but I want to see Daniel Hishaw break loose because I think once he does that, then that's going to open up 1,000 possibilities for him.
And again, it's just I completely agree, and it would be great to see, and I'm sure we will. Hishaw and Williams will both get their opportunity, and they will both break 1, 2, 3, however many this season. But KU only ran not even 50 plays offensively.
Right, that's true.
So
Very true.
Game script was so strange in this one that ultimately KU fell short by 11. They're 2-1 now, an open week before West Virginia comes calling. Again, it seems like KU football always opens against West Virginia. The basketball team opened against West Virginia last year. Don't want to relive that one either. But after this, we are going to hear from JD6. I do want to point out, because I want to make sure I give him the most credit possible. Perfect from the field, I said, Greg Gurley. That wasn't 1 for 1. That was 5 for 5 and 3 of 3 from deep. Was unable to put his shoulder down and get to the free throw line, but he ended up with 13 points. Shout out Greg Gurley against the Furman Paladins, who, as you've said, just hate to see him coming back in late December of 1993. After this, Jalen Daniels. Thanks for watching KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Hishaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Patio, where your dream living space comes to life.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Boucher and Easton John with you here live at the Kansas Nation Studios, brand new state-of-the-art studios here on Mass Street. We're so stoked to be bringing you the best coverage of all things KU athletics. Check out KansasNation.com. We've got articles on there, videos, highlights, everything you need to know. Also find us, Kansas Nation, the Kansas Nation, on all of your socials as well. Make sure to keep that updated and keep you abreast on everything going on with KU. Well, we lost a football game on Saturday. We're not happy about it, but Jalen Daniels always takes responsibility, even when it's not really his fault. He met with reporters post-game, the 11-point loss.
All right, we got quarterback Jalen Daniels.
JD, what's the biggest takeaway coming out of here from your perspective for your offense, for this team as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, in life, you're always going to have adversity at some point, and I think that, it's all about how you're able to handle adversity. Today we ran into a lot of adverse situations, and coming from this game, we're going to have to go back into the lab, come in Monday, and, work on, we believe in having a 1-0 mentality, so we're going to go ahead and put our heads down and go back to work and get ready for Big 12 play.
You look down at the stat sheet there, what's the first thing that stood out to you?
I'm not going to say anything really stood out to me off the bat because at the end of the day, the only statistic I believe in is the win and loss category. So, today we came up short. And, as a quarterback, that's always going to hurt me deeply because at the end of the day, I feel like I didn't put our team in enough good situations to be able to come out with the win today. So that's on me. There's a lot of things on film that I'm probably going to see and have to try to get better from that. And I'm 100% going to take the accountability for doing that.
You guys have put such an emphasis on finishing games late over the course of the offseason. I guess, how tough is it to have kind of the first chance to do that and it doesn't end up going your guys' way?
Yeah, like I said, man, adversity is always going to strike at some point, and a lot of things you do in life, no matter how hard you work, sometimes you end up short. But it's not all about what happens. At the end of the day, we believe in E plus R equals O, which is event plus response equals outcome. And, we can't control the event, we can't control the outcome, but what we can control is our response. So we're going to go ahead and, like I said, come in Sunday, come in Monday ready for practice, and get ready for Big 12 play.
You didn't play in it or grow up with it, but you've been a Jayhawk a long time. What was it like to get a taste of this rivalry?
Yeah, first of all, it means a lot that I was the first quarterback to be able to, play within this rivalry. I don't know how long it's been since then, but I just wish that I was able to help the Jayhawk Nation be able to come back home with the win.
You talked about battling adversity. You guys go 3 and out, they score, and then you respond. You're up 21-6. Just what'd you like about your guys' response to that opening sequence?
Yeah, I just think it goes to show that, no matter what's going on within the game, we're going to continue to keep fighting. We could be up 30 or down 30. At the end of the day, it's all about the next play. It's the next play mentality. It's a 1-0 mentality, and we're going to keep on believing that within our walls.
Last week you threw the touchdown to Deshaun, and maybe one of the easiest you'll throw and he'll catch. Today he had a couple more. Is that something that's emerging, developing? Are you looking for him more, especially in red zone type opportunities?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm, looking for him more. Like I continue to say every single week, I believe in putting the ball in our playmakers' hands in space and allowing our playmakers to be able to make plays. And, Deshaun was able to be put into a lot of situations where he was wide open, and he was able to catch the ball, and he had a couple touchdowns tonight. But at the end of the day, we still ended up falling up short. So we have to figure out more ways to be able to put the ball in our playmakers' hands and be able to get more points on the board.
The interception at the end, it looked like you were trying to throw it away.
100%.
What happened there?
There was pressure in my face, and I couldn't put all into my throw like I wanted to. And that's hats off to the defensive front for even being able to get back there. And I don't know if it was the corner or the safety, but he ended up making a play on that, and I got to give hats off to him for even being able to stay in bounds with it.
What do you think made it so tough for your running game today?
Honestly, yeah, that's something that we're gonna have to be able to look at on film. Like I said, I got to give hats off to Mizzou for coming in prepared and being able to come out here and be able to play a great scheme. I think that they executed what they wanted to do, but at the end of the day, as the quarterback, I'm going to continue to keep saying that we need to be able to get better.
You've been through a lot of bye weeks in your time at KU.
Mm-hmm.
With that past experience, how does that kind of inform the way you go into this one now?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one, now that we have a bye week going into next week, first of all, we're preparing for the first game in Big 12 play, but now you're sitting here thinking about the last game, and the last game was a loss. So now we have 1 week to be able to continue to keep thinking about that, and then the next week after that, it's the next game. So, I think that this loss is going to be on a lot of our heads going into these next 2 weeks, and we're going to keep on preparing 1-0 like we usually do.
Deshaun called it a kind of look yourself in the mirror type of situation. Just what are you hoping to learn about yourself and your team throughout the bye week?
How do you handle adversity? Like I said earlier, adversity is going to strike in your life at some point. It's not about it's not about what happened. It's about how you respond to it. So how are we going to handle adversity? Are we going to look at ourselves in the mirror and be able to try to get better? Or are we going to look at ourselves in the mirror and keep beating ourselves down? And at the end of the day, beating yourself down is not going to bring out anything positive. So as a leader and captain on this team, I'm going to make sure that we stay together, stay close, stay tight, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's going on outside of our walls. As long as we continue to keep doing what we do on the inside, we're going to keep on going out there and try to go get that win.
Anything else for Jalen?
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jalen.
Daniels following the loss on Saturday. KU 2-1 and a lot of great opportunities ahead of them. We were looking at the schedule a little bit earlier today, and we know that we have winnable games coming up to start the Big 12 slate with West Virginia and Cincinnati coming to town. But KU also has an Oklahoma State team that just lost by 66 at the booth a little bit later this year. You get K-State, a team who's in the dumps right now, also at home, some winnable games on the road when you go to UCF. So there's a lot of wins out there still on KU's schedule. Didn't get the one that you really wanted on Saturday, but now clean slate, 0-0, and KU begins their quest for a Big 12 championship. After this, Dan Courtwright is going to tell us what this week's edition of a Top 10 Tuesday is. What's it about?
It's about the top 10 hardest things that I've ever done in my life.
Yes. Shout out to KU basketball boot camp, as Coach Self does boot camp annually to make sure the guys are prepared for anything that may come their way. And we are not upset that we are not a part of that on the court, because I don't think that we would last more than about 5 minutes
No
out
chance.
there. But Top 10 Tuesday coming up after this. Thank you so much for watching KansasNation.com.
This is Dale Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Talk Sports here on KansasNation.com. It is a Tuesday, which means that we're going to do our Top 10 Tuesday, Dan Courtwright's specialty, and in honor of boot camp for KU basketball, which Dan has never participated in. You have done some calisthenics, though, if I'm not mistaken, for your football career?
Yes.
In the past?
Mostly water aerobics. I did play college football. I got to be on the sidelines for 5 years, wear 30 pounds of plastic, and get a front row seat to Emporia State games. That was fun. But yeah, no, I did. I got to go through fall camp and all that different kind of stuff. So it's something I've been through, but also I'm 27 now, and I couldn't imagine doing it now.
Hey, man, if I know anything about you, it's that you were going to break a sweat.
Yes.
I mean, you have broken a sweat playing pig here at the new Kansas Nation studios.
I've broken a sweat like getting too worked up while doing a top 10 one time.
So, man, even just standing on the sidelines in Emporia State game, the boot camp would be a special scene.
Yes.
Anyway, Top 10 Tuesday, what's on tap today as it relates to boot camp?
Yeah. So, like you said, doing my top 10 hardest things that I have ever done in my life. Now it's not going to be like a sad one. They're all they're just hard things, like physically hard things that I have done in my lifetime. And let's go ahead and go on with number 10. Number 10 on my top 10 hardest things that I've ever done is breaking 90 in golf. Have you ever?
I have not even broken 100.
I can't
No.
imagine. I know. I have been golfing since the year 2014, I believe. So it has been 11-ish years. And this summer is the first time I ever broke 90.
I'm impressed.
I know.
What course was it?
It was Orchards.
Okay.
Here in Lawrence.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, I mean it's granted it's mostly par threes.
Yeah.
So that makes a little bit of sense. Actually, I did break 90 at Lake Shawnee too. So that's like an actual legitimate course that I broke 90 on. It's taken me forever. Golf is the most frustrating sport in the world, and I keep coming back to it, man, because I just love it so much. But yeah, it's taking me way too long.
What's your biggest issue on the golf course?
Anywhere 100 in,
Yeah.
I'm
Short game.
horrible. I'm dreadful. Right, I can get it there. Like the drive, like weirdly enough, like the drives are good. Like
Yeah.
I can drive the ball relatively far.
You still have a good slice in you, though.
I'm not. Yeah, a little.
Breakfast
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah, well, yeah, you worked that out. And sure. Did I shoot under 90 with a couple mulligans?
Foot wedge.
I plead the fifth.
We've all got an extra foot
Yeah,
wedge in our bag.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
You lay the stick down, you go, "Oh, that's, that's a gimme." And they're like, "You're off the green." Nah, it's a gimme. That's a gimme putt. That's fine.
That's good. Pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I can get it there. And I'm decent with my irons, and then just anything within 100 yards, like my wedges. But it doesn't matter if it's a 52 degree, 56 degree, whatever it may be. Just god awful.
I've got a hybrid 4 that I hit really well, but I am not very good at. I'm not very good at putting. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, putting is
pretty terrible at putting. I'm weirdly good out of the trap. I don't know why.
That is strange.
That is very strange. I have
very
a
strange.
different level of confidence.
We haven't golfed together yet.
We have
either.
not, we've only played pig once. And obviously, your record's 0-1. But
I won't. All right, we'll
get this on camera one day here at the Kansas Nation Studios. But
we'll
anyway,
play pig for the fans.
I have not broken 90 in golf, so you've got that.
Yeah.
You're a little bit more experienced than I am on that
Sure.
front. But
I did golf with coming up next segment, Nick Springer. I golfed with him. He's getting into golf. He's getting better. I'll say that.
That is a good way to put it.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
getting better.
I've heard
I've
that
never
he's-
golfed with you. Have
I've
my
heard
old
that
putter,
he's very
though.
green. He's very green. Yes.
Yes, very green.
Yes.
You have my old putter though. How's that treating you?
It's actually great.
I know.
Yeah, I had the big mallet on my other one. Not a fan of that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
we do have a little putting green that I'm gonna put to use because I need some help on that front.
Need to put in a little work. All right, let's go with number 9. Number 9 on my top 10 hardest things that I have ever done in my life is hiking up the Horsetooth Mountain in Fort Collins, Colorado. I've hiked a lot of things. Horsetooth was interesting. I'm not a hiker, right? I'm not. Look at me. You could look at me and say that guy doesn't hike. For a little bit of backstory, I used to live in Colorado. I lived in Colorado for about 2-3 months. Did the AmeriCorps out there, and my girlfriend, she lived here while I was out there, but she would always come visit me, which was super nice.
Is that how you became a Broncos fan? Just from your 2-3 months out there?
I'm not a Broncos fan. He's lying to you.
That was all it took.
Fan.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
I'm not a Broncos fan. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for Colorado State. Go Rams.
Yeah.
I
Big body Roddy, David Roddy, former Ram legend.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean they're fun. But
the Kansas City kid who's at North Carolina now.
Kyan Evans.
Yes.
I actually know his brother,
Yes.
Caden Evans. Played basketball at Emporia State. But yeah, no. So I lived in Colorado for a little bit. And my girlfriend would come visit me, and she'd be like, "Hey, let's go hiking," and I'd be like, "Yeah, let's go hiking." And I didn't want to. She came all the way out there. So I was like, fine, we'll go hiking. And so we'd be hiking, and she would just be kicking my ass. I mean, she'd be flying ahead, but, I didn't want to look like weak in front of her. So I'd be like, oh, hey, let's just stop and smell the roses. And she's like, but Dan, we're still in the parking lot of your apartment complex. I'm like, whatever.
She is great. She's great for you because she is very convincing to where, like, she's got the puppy dog eyes, I feel like.
Yeah, she can get me to do a lot of things.
Yeah, and you're like, I just want to stay in. She's like, no, let's go.
Yeah, she like There's
Yeah, it's
no
good for
one
you.
else
You
in the
need that.
world who can like push me to go hiking. But like going up Horsetooth, I literally was like climbing rocks. Like it was the worst. It was the hardest.
Isn't that the worst part about hiking?
I hated
the
it.
climbing rocks portion.
Yeah, the
Oh,
climbing rocks
yeah.
portion. Well, that's the thing. Like when you think of a hike, you're like, all right, it's a trail, and I'm walking. Not this place. Like there's literally like a boulder on top of like another boulder that's very unstable. At least that's what it looked like. And she's like, "Let's go to the top." I'm like, "What's the top? What do you mean the top? What do you want to do? You want to climb up there?" She's like, "Yeah." So I'm literally like free form. It's horrible. I hated it so much. And I didn't even get to enjoy the view because I'm pretty sure I just like blacked out. I'm so tired. All right, let's go ahead and go with number 8. Number 8 on my top 10 things that are the hardest things that I've ever done in my life is every time I fold a fitted sheet.
Oh, yes.
It's impossible.
It is difficult. I feel like you and I have talked about this before.
Have you ever successfully done it?
So
to where it
my
can
only
fit perfectly?
No, my only approach is the
roll.
Yeah,
you gotta roll
yeah, and then you just got to find a
it's like you're punching a speed bag.
Yeah, like
you wrap it up.
A semi-empty drawer to just shove it in, and then
yes.
I mean it's terrible. I don't get it. I really don't get how you're supposed to do that.
No, I don't understand it one bit. My girlfriend gets mad at me every single time because essentially we do it together.
There's like
no, you have to do it this way. I'm like, I'm trying.
There literally
you have to write instructions for me. Like
there literally is a way to fold it where you like put your elbow in it.
Yeah.
And then you wrap it around. I don't know. I've never obviously done it. Who's going to take the time to do that?
Exactly.
If
you
just
have to
do
like
the,
know a guy who knows a guy in order to do it.
Do the roll approach, and then you fold it over, and then you roll it again. It's terrible.
It's incredibly hard and it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
That's why
Similar,
it's on my top 10.
It's like honestly, the parallels between that and boot camp have to be. I mean, they're on
really
on parallel.
Oh yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. I might have it worse fitting a folded sheet than they do running a million suicides or whatever.
God, suicides, man. Remember in 6th grade basketball practice?
Horrible.
Just hated those.
Horrible time. All right, number 7. Number 7 on my list of top 10 things that are the hardest things that I've ever done is 600 yards of rolls. If you don't know what rolls are, I will lay it out for you. Rolls, and they actually got into the mainstream after a little show called Last Chance U. Went into, I believe it was East Mississippi Community College. They won a bunch of national championships, that kind of thing. Ronald Ollie, actually, Nichols State legend, beat Kansas actually. It
was overtime.
I think he was in that. I think he was there that year. Ronald Ollie is one of the famous ones who got to do rolls. Essentially, if you get in trouble while you're playing football, they make you lay down on the ground and roll. That's it. That's the punishment. And you think, well, that's fine. That's not that hard.
In your pads.
In your pads. You have to be in your pads.
You got to engage your core.
I implore you. By the way, it was nothing I did. I never got in trouble. It was because of my freshman class when I went to Emporia State. There was just guys who kept on missing weight.
And they just kept blaming you.
No, everyone got in trouble. If somebody was late to weights or somebody was late to a workout, then the entire freshman class had to go do rolls. And they were like, all right, we'll do 100 yards. And then the next time someone gets in trouble, we'll do another 100 yards added on. So we'll do 200. And so on and so forth. 6 days in a row, somebody was late, and they stopped. And by the way, that's not even true. It was 8 days in a row. They stopped at 600 because they thought that they were breaking some law in the Geneva Convention. That's how horrible this was. I have puked twice since 2003. That was the first time. And then the second time I ate 5 grilled cheeses in 10 minutes.
Oh my God. So neither were Fireball related?
No. Wow. Alcohol's never made me throw up. It was rolls and grilled cheeses.
Man,
I know.
The punishment of punishing the whole team when one kid does something, I've always kind of liked.
Yeah,
because it
makes
teaches
the other kids.
It teaches the young men and women of our society the accountability that is needed growing up, right?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, it didn't work in this situation.
No, but
because people kept showing up late.
We would be like, "Hey, get up! I'm not doing rolls for you," and they're like, they "Roll back over."
Yeah. But I mean, it would have worked for me as a kid in terms of, okay, you can handle it.
Guys, coach is right.
No, but you can handle it.
We gotta play as a team.
That's a great voice.
Is that you?
That sounds
Was
just,
that
that
how
sounds
you
just
were?
like me. Just like me.
You were like-
I can handle it having to do that stuff if I'm late, right? Or if I break some rule. But you feel horrible if you make your boys do
Oh
it,
yeah,
right?
everyone else hates you.
So it usually works, but
Yeah.
obviously it didn't in this particular case.
No,
for
it
you.
didn't. It
Yeah.
didn't. They just didn't care.
Rolls,
It was
got you
horrible.
rolling.
Rolls. All right, let's go ahead and go with number 6. Number 6 on my top 10 hardest things that I have ever done. Being a KU football fan from 2010 to 2020.
2015 KU football was rough.
That was a rough one.
0-12.
That was a rough one. By the way, that's the year I was recruited as a walk-on to Kansas, and I was aware enough as a high school kid, like if they're recruiting guys like me, they are in a bad way.
That was
Because I
my-
know I'm not good enough to be on a Big 12 roster, and they're like willingly like, hey, you want to come? I was like,
I
that's-
legitimately do feel bad because Kansas had so many good guys on that team. But 2015 was my first year covering KU football for the Jayhawk Radio Network, doing post game. And I remember at the end of the year, I was like, man, we didn't win any games.
Yeah.
So I had that entire season, and then the next year, I can't remember who we beat, but I remember thinking, wow, this is my first post game after a KU win, because 2015 was such a tough season. And then we had the 2020 season that was shortened when Les Miles was here and KU went 0-9. Also, it's
winless.
like, man, this is ugly. But there were signs, there were one or two small signs before Coach Leipold got here that this team or this program was not as bad as it was, in the 2010 to 2015. You beat Central Michigan on the road. That was your first road win in forever. You were 20-point underdogs against Boston College and Chestnut Hill, and you won by 20 with Carter Stanley. That was nice.
That Boston College game was incredible. They beat Minnesota once.
And yet still, you never won a Big 12 road conference game until Coach Leipold got here. And then all of a sudden, you're beating West Virginia, you're beating Houston, you're beating Iowa State, and so many things that he's done. He's got 5 wins over top 25 opponents. But yeah, like you said, beginning in about 2010, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that Turner Gilliard. I mean, who's it? Webb?
Jordan Webb.
Jordan Webb was the quarterback.
Hey, I was on the field after we beat Georgia Tech.
Peyton Bender was actually a kind of a good quarterback.
You said that's your second Peyton Bender reference
He was
recently.
good.
Good for you.
Who's the guy just before Jalen?
Just before Jalen, that was Carter Stanley, wasn't it?
No, but there was another guy. Man, that's gonna bother the hell out of me.
Just before Jalen, while Jalen was here?
Maybe Jalen was a freshman, and then the year afterwards, we had another guy come in and start. And I want to say he bounced around, and he might have transitioned to wide receiver, maybe. Miles Kendrick?
Miles Kendrick was here, yeah.
Yeah, Miles Kendrick.
Here's a name for you from back in the Mark Mangino years before Touchdown Todd. Jason Swanson.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Remember Jason
Man,
Swanson?
Of course I do.
KU legend.
Fun. Man, shout out to those guys. But yeah, being a KU football fan from 2010 to 2020, it was rough. It was really rough. Number five on my top 10 hardest things I've ever had to do is waking up on the first alarm. I physically, you know this. Are you a snooze guy or are you a multiple alarm guy? Or are you you're woken up by your daughter guy?
I'm a snooze guy usually.
Sure.
I am a one alarm guy though.
Oh, I can't.
Unless it's like got to be at the airport or something.
Yeah.
I mean, which I know Chris Courtwright would say 7 a.m. flight, you got to be there by 2:30.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a 2 alarm guy.
Man,
I don't want to.
Let me hold on. Let me check because I am a multiple alarm because I know myself too well. I can't hit snooze.
And you set your alarm way too early. You've told me.
I do. I really do. If I need to get up at 8, I'll set my alarm. My first alarm at like 6:30.
What time does?
So I have. Let's see.
What time does Piper set her alarm for?
Around the same time. So I have a 7:30, 7:35, 7:40, 7:45.
Do you get in trouble for snoozing?
8 o'clock alarm, 8:10. That's just in case. And I have 2 more just in case ones that are 8:25 and then 8:30.
Oh my God.
That's when I have to get up.
How much do you sleep?
A lot, dude. Because I know myself too well, and I know like if the first alarm goes up, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'll just hit snooze. I'm like, no, I'll hit off because I'm just gonna get up and then I just go to sleep anyway. I know myself too well, so I have to have those fail safes. I can't just not have any backups. So I have literally like 15 backups.
And Piper is a wake up right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes she'll go 2. Sometimes
she do coffee. Is she a coffee person?
Yeah, she's coffee lady.
Caitlin, like coffee is her first love, and sometimes her
Man.
only love.
Right.
I mean, I'm telling you,
And she
coffee,
and she has a
coffee
husband and a
is her
daughter. Yeah,
number
right.
one thing. Like, yeah, and you know, when you're gonna have a baby, you can only have 1 cup of coffee a day or something.
Yeah,
And it
oh.
was, yeah.
That's,
She had
that's horrible.
in the almost 12 years that I've known her, she's had like one stretch of like 5 weeks where she only drank tea. It was the weirdest thing. It was like probably the biggest
Her
anomaly
British
of
face.
our relationship.
Yeah. How could I forget?
And then
Started speaking in that accent.
something happened. I'm sure Starbucks got in her email and was saying, "Come on by." And yeah, I don't know, but
Oh man.
no, coffee is her thing, man.
Man, it's my
It is.
thing too. I'm a black coffee guy too.
But you're a 5 cups a day black coffee.
It's bad. It's really bad.
it's
The
rough.
pressure's burning a hole in my stomach.
Yeah.
Number 4. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, my top 10 things that are top 10 hardest things that I've ever done in my life. Moving a couch up a flight of stairs. Impossible. Literally, like, it doesn't matter how many people you have, 2 horse and a men doing it. It sucks. We've talked about this. You did your own solo top 10 about how much you hated moving.
Boy, yeah. For anybody who didn't catch my solo top 10, which it's been a while. Yeah, shout out to Ross Geller, best friends character. Don't come at me, Ross Geller. Yes, moving, especially like
Chandler
Ross
Bing?
had to do there.
Yeah.
Like Ross had to do it, move it around.
Yeah.
The pivoting and the more pivoting. Yes, it's terrible. But yeah, the chairs are almost worse, just because of the angle of it.
Yeah, but
right?
I mean, the couches literally. I mean, they're so long.
Like, what if the staircase goes straight up?
We literally, like, dude, I remember at my old college house, we tried to move a couch, and I'm pretty sure it might have taken us like an hour.
Isn't it great? Because
an hour, probably
in
an
that
hour.
situation, everybody's pretending like they know what to do.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh no, well, I think if we just turn it this way and then tilt it toward me and then make sure that the feet are off,
and then
another
just person's like, no, you need to do it the other way.
Yeah, well, this is the banister's going to get in the way, so you got to make sure. Like, everybody's just pretending like they know the correct way.
I never want to move, and like the couches that are in our house right now, I'm never getting rid of them because I never want to move another couch up a flight of stairs. I live in a split level, so when you open the door, immediately stairs.
Yeah.
So anything
that's how ours is nowadays.
Yeah. So yeah, right. Like right when
you literally before you have to move anything in, you essentially have to take the door off if you want to do anything. But no, yes, I did. Mostly the top 10 are exclusively Mr. Courtright over here, but I was so passionate, we'll say, after having to move where I did not receive a lot of help from people. That's not a stab at you. You were busy. You had a sales meeting or something
I was
while
doing
back.
Our show.
Yes,
you skipped the show.
Yes,
that day.
hey, skipped. I don't know if I would say that. Bottom line is, I didn't. I know that there are people in this very room that are more than willing to help me in any other scenario. Just couldn't find the time that day. But essentially had to move my entire house to my entire house with just my brother and sister-in-law, bless their hearts. But I was
You're telling
so
me your 2-year-old daughter didn't help at all?
Angry after that and just completely exhausted. I was like, I'm doing a top 10 things that I hate about moving. And heavy furniture was like number 8 on my list.
That's like
it's
number,
the little
that's number
things,
4
man.
on
It's
like
the stuff,
hardest things I've
but
ever
it's
done.
the stuff you have to throw in the tubs, the annoying,
I guess
whatever.
that's true.
Anyway, shout out to
fair.
Ross.
Shout out to Ross. Hey, number 3. Number 3 on my top 10 hardest things I've ever done is get over the 2 Super Bowl losses that the Chiefs had. That 2021 one was so rough on me. Now, granted, last year wasn't as rough, but the 2021 one that one hurt more because I thought, okay, Chiefs had their chance to have a dynasty. Tyreek Hill's leaving, Tyrann Mathieu, I believe, left too. I was like, that was our one shot, and we only got one of them. You know what I mean? It felt kind of like the Rams. I'm sure they feel like they kind of lost their window too. Bengals, even though they haven't won one, they still kind of feel like their window is gone. Same with the Lions. I thought that the window, even though the Chiefs have gotten one, I thought it was over. Now, granted, obviously it's back, so I eventually got over it. Last year a little different because the Chiefs were going for a 3-peat, so they won 2 before that.
The Bucs one hurt me more, I think, just because I knew that we probably weren't going to get to see Mahomes against Brady again, and people were going to hold that over his head, which they have done. They have done.
Oh yeah.
And Mahomes has 3. He did recently say, I don't know if you saw last week, that he doesn't particularly have any interest in cutting a career short or anything. So I think he could,
did see
he
that,
could play
yes.
into his 40s. That would be nice.
That would be excellent.
He's already got 3, but there's a little bit of cause for concern this season after week 1. We'll see what happens, but Ravens and the Bills are both going to be good.
Rashee Rice is day-to-day.
Yes.
And
Worthy's questionable. Also day-to-day.
Or what did I
That's
say?
what, yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
That's what you meant.
I meant Xavier Worthy.
Rashee Rice will be back.
Rashee Rice is obviously
week 7.
He's suspended, but
Raiders football
Xavier
team.
Worthy's day-to-day. Yeah. So,
Anyway, we'll
I don't
see.
know,
We'll see what happens.
Number 2 on my top 10 hardest things I've ever had to do is similar to number 3, but it was probably worse because I was a little younger. Getting over the 2012 NCAA championship. That was a tough one. That one sucked.
That was a tough one. I was obviously a little bit older than you then, so you would have been what, 15, 16, something like that?
Yeah, 14.
But you probably
Maybe 13. I think it would have been 13.
You probably, even at that age, knew that we were outmanned that game.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you look back.
You
it
look
doesn't
at
make it
Anthony
easier, I know.
Davis, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at that guy. But still, when you're in that situation, and
The tournament is so hard.
I would have
Yeah.
been 13 at the time, so it's still in that situation. I was like, man, like we're here. Like we can do it. We got T-Rob, man. Like we're a good team, and Jeff Withey and all that stuff.
Season,
Man,
that season is one of Bill Self's best coaching jobs, and in the middle of the Kansas basketball dynasty in the Big 12, right chalk in the middle of it, because even though KU had won, I don't know, how many Big 12 titles was it, like 7 or something at that time in a row? Right. You had a couple guys be ruled ineligible before the season started, so you're already shorthanded. You were playing with the custodian, Kevin Young, and Connor Tehan as your 6th and 7th, and you didn't go past that. Justin Wesley was your number 8 guy.
Did Tehan start in the championship?
He didn't. No,
okay,
because you still had Big Lodge and you still had Travis Relaford alongside Tyshawn, and then you had Jeff Withey, who's a big reason that team was so good.
Right. Oh,
people forget about that. He's got the record for most blocks in an NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And obviously 2 All-American type players, an All-Conference type player, and Tyshawn Taylor, and then ESPN.com National Player of the Year, and T-Rob. You had that, but you didn't have a lot of depth. And those 2 guys and Coach Self, and the pieces around them took them all the way to the national runner-up status.
But it was weird because it did feel kind of like a Cinderella story for Kansas, which is weird because Kansas is a blue blood. So you felt you're like, oh,
I think
did
that
it
helped
with this kind of ragtag group of guys, and then
and sometimes that helps,
Goliath
right?
comes in and just sweeps up David.
Well, and that's still Calipari's only national title. Bill Self has 3 in our book, but I would say that's a good one. I think there are a couple that are more painful for me. Obviously, I was younger then than you were then, but 2003.
Yeah, I was way too young to understand.
KU missed 18 free throws in that game. End up barely losing to Carmelo and Syracuse, and that's the thing. It's amazing how people are looked back on. Like Carmelo's looked at this all-world. He's a freshman, leads him to a national championship. How often does that happen? That sort of thing. And I agree. I mean, he's obviously incredible, but it's like, man, 12 of 30 KU was at the free throw line. Like how different the story would change. That was up there. Man, the Elite 8 ones are always tough. 16 against Nova, 17 against Oregon when KU just couldn't hit anything.
That was the
2014
Oregon
Royals
was that
2014 Royals was tough.
Yeah, but then they came back and they won it the next year, so that's why I didn't feel as bad about that.
2020 was maybe the most painful one of all for me.
Yeah, that's true.
Not getting to actually play in the postseason when you had the best team. Joe Lunardi saying before the bracket reveal, which never actually happened, Kansas has lapped the field.
Yeah.
Only loss in conference play when we went 17-1 was to Baylor at home. And then we beat Baylor on the road when we had Jared Butler had him denied by, I think it was Dotson, who had his hand in his face. And Bill Self opted not to foul there.
Yes,
up by 3 and trusted his guys defensively. Butler missed the shot.
That might have been a better.
They were also going to be a 1 seed. That was so painful,
that might
though.
have been a better pick. Yeah.
I mean, when they canceled the tournament. Anyway, that was bad.
That's tough. All right, number 1, drum roll. We don't have a drum roll.
We don't have a drum roll.
Just one, it probably should have been closer, but honestly, this is the hardest thing that I'm dealing with right now. Saving money. Number 1, hardest thing that I've ever had to do is save money. It is so
That reminds me, you want to grab some beers after work?
I would love to, Sean.
Oh,
you twisted my arm. This guy,
great.
he's such a good negotiator.
We should get 3, 4, 5 beers and maybe a couple appetizers and a couple entrees and just
Yeah,
talk
and then
about how we need to be better at saving money.
100%. Yeah. I mean, after 6, 7, 8, 9 beers, then we can just continue to talk about just how,
And
like,
if you're
where's all of our money going?
If you're hungry later, just DoorDash some food in.
Right, and then when
Dash Pass, there's your way. Save
right.
money.
That's a very good idea. Uber home, Uber,
Uber home.
the Uber luxury, because I don't want to share it with anybody. You kidding me, right?
Obviously.
And then just
that
contemplate where all of my money went.
Yeah, that reminds me, Vegas. We got to get that. We got to get that on the calendar.
See, once I hit one of these massive parlays of mine, I'll never have to worry about this again.
Top 10 hardest things that Dan has ever done in his life. I only had one thing, Dan, on my list, and that's using my blinkers on the road. It's too difficult for me. I can't do it. Top 10 Tuesday.
The worst.
Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks for listening on ESPN Kansas City and watching on KansasNation.com. Nick Springer after this.
This is Dale Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com with Dan Courtwright. I am Sean Kellerman. Appreciate you rolling with us here on this Tuesday as we continue to rehash the weekend that was before we look forward. And right now we're going to be joined by a special guest. Nick Springer joins us from the Kansas City Sports Network. Nick and Kevin Flaherty have the Pay Heed podcast over there. Nick, we just got to get right to it. Carlos Alcaraz wins the U.S. Open for the second time. Sinner goes down. I know you're a big Jannik Sinner guy, but your thoughts on the U.S. Open, feel free to take this as long as you would like.
I think you have to start with the question of clay versus grass. I mean, is Alcaraz a grass merchant? I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. He played grass at the Open. The U.S. Open, I think.
Because I think so. Because that was the biggest thing that happened over this weekend, right? That was
don't force us to talk about something other than the football game that took place, because we'll find a way to burn some time on that front. No, but Nick, in all reality, you were there in Columbia and started great at 21-6 in the first quarter, and then it was unlike a game I've ever seen before in terms of snap count. Honestly, time of possession, number of tackles, that sort of thing. Just kind of your takeaways from that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, not the result Kansas was hoping for, certainly. So it's a bit of a bummer, considering the stakes of the game. But the bottom line is this: I think I actually left Columbia mercifully on Saturday evening, actually feeling a little bit more positive about the outlook for KU's season for a wide variety of reasons. Number one being, yes, obviously it sucks to lose to Missouri. I feel like I have to caveat this whole thing by saying, yes, I'm pissed. Yes, I'm mad. Yes, I hate losing to those stupid idiots over there. They've got their dumb little stupid tiger tails hanging out the back of their cars as they're leaving the stadium. It's so stupid. Drives me. Did you
hold?
If I see one more tiger tail, I may lose.
Did you hold your breath once you about hit Boonville because of the stench, or were you? I mean, you were able to survive.
Well, don't get me started on Boonville. I tried to stop there for Taco Bell for breakfast. They don't even serve breakfast.
Oh man!
Oh, that's sinful.
It's unbelievable.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But
that is the best thing that Taco Bell offers, by the way, is their breakfast.
100%.
The breakfast crunch wrap. I'm glad that we're all on the same page on that front.
Quesadillas from Taco Bell are very good.
Yeah, some fast food tangents here, but anyway, continue about the game itself.
Yeah, so I left Columbia actually feeling a little bit more positive about the outlook for Kansas this season for a couple of reasons. I think first and foremost, for my money, I think Missouri is probably the best opponent KU is going to face all season. You look at the schedule, you've got Texas Tech on the road. That's probably going to be a tough one, certainly. You think about Utah, right? But that's about it. I think Missouri is, and especially their defensive front, I think is definitely the best that KU will have seen all season. And look, you had a long drive to take the lead in the fourth quarter. You were leading in the fourth quarter with 9 minutes to go, 31-28. And, maybe a couple of different coaching decisions go different ways, and maybe you do actually have a chance to win the game towards the end. So I think there's reason to be encouraged by what happened on Saturday for Kansas. Again, setting aside the fact that obviously you don't want to lose to Missouri. There are no moral victories when you lose to your bitter rival, both on the field and in history over the past 150 years at this point. There's no more victories than that. But now you have a bye week with a chance to maybe get healthier than you even were to start the season, and your entire season is right in front of you. You go into conference play, it's basically a brand new season, 0-0, and Arlington, I think, is legitimately a possibility for Kansas, given how some of the other Big 12 teams have looked to start this season. When you consider, Arizona State loses to Mississippi State. Baylor's been up and down. Like, I'm not ready to crown Texas Tech as like this elite team because they've played the school of the blind and the school of the poor. So like, what I don't know, Utah looks pretty good. Iowa State looks pretty good. K-State obviously is a bit of a dumpster fire at the moment. So it's right there in front of you for the taking if you're Kansas at this point. And utilizing maybe a loss like this to sort of re-energize your team. You get the bye week to sort of mentally reset, and then you're off and running, and your season is still in front of you.
Nick Springer from the Pay Heat podcast on Kansas City Sports Network joins the show. And Nick, as much as we want to put this behind us, we still kind of got to put a bow on this. And I wanted to talk about the KU offense and their lack of ability to establish a run, right? I believe they had 3 net total rushing yards throughout the entire game. When you can't establish a run, that makes your offensive scheme kind of predictable. Do you think that's going to be an issue down the line, or do you think that's just because Mizzou's front defense was so good?
Yeah, like I said, I do think Missouri's defensive line is the best that KU will see all season. And I was more concerned going into the game about the pass rush. And honestly, I thought pass protection wise, they did a pretty decent job overall, right? Like, you had the one unfortunate play that resulted in a safety, obviously, which was a bit of a bummer. But other than
It was
that,
an illegally batted ball, which shouldn't have been a safety.
Debatable, yeah. Which, by the way, the Big 12 officiating crew suspended, but not
That's
for that.
right.
Not for that.
Not for that.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, Eli Drinkwitz tried to cheat in other ways by doing a free kick
What a
instead
dork.
of.
I know. We
a
mentioned that in
kickoff.
the open. I saw the headline basically when this release came out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, good." They looked back on this and
Yeah, no, they
are
didn't.
making sure that people are going to pay for this. And turns
Yeah,
out it was
wrong.
something that I didn't notice personally
Yeah.
during.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice it either. So, but Drinkwitz, certified cheater, can't confirm.
Certified cheater.
But
Dork.
But yeah, I mean, you think about the rushing attack for Kansas, and Jalen Daniels was your leading rusher, and he actually goes down as having a negative 25-yard rushing play on the safety, and he still ends up being your leading rusher. So obviously that was a huge bummer that Kansas was unable to really get anything going, and it set them up in a lot of difficult situations. But I will say, I think a lot of credit needs to be given here to Jim Zabrowski in that despite having virtually no running game, I felt like Kansas was still able to scheme up plays to get guys open downfield and make plays. They had a great play on a wheel route to Bowden Gruen at one point. Then you got Sean Hanukkah open several different occasions downfield. You had the deep pass to Levi Wentz. You had several occasions where you could have gotten the ball to Emmanuel Henderson, but whether it be drops or overthrows, whatever it may have been, you missed opportunities there. But I think a lot of credit needs to be given to what the Kansas offense is able to accomplish despite that. And this is another game where I think Jalen Daniels played a great game. If you look at the stats, it's not going to reflect that. And I feel a little bit bad about that because this is another moment where I thought Jalen Daniels clearly left it all on the field.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And didn't get the result, right? And so from the Jalen Daniels perspective, you think about to the K-State game last year where I also thought he clearly played one of his best games of the season and left it all on the field in a loss, right? And I feel bad for him because I got to be honest, guys, if Jalen Daniels doesn't lead KU to beat K-State later this season, like, his legacy is going to take a serious hit because people are not going to remember him leaving it all on the line. They're going to remember him losing and the streak continuing against K-State and not beating Missouri. So I hope for Jalen Daniels' sake that, well, obviously I hope for many reasons that KU can handle K-State later in the year, but that's another reason why. So,
which as of right now, it looks very doable, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they do not look good.
Yeah. And, offensively, I mean, let's also be honest with ourselves here. Kansas ran 48 plays. I mean, they didn't really get a chance to get the offense really rolling at any point in the game because the defense was on the field for the entire second quarter. And then some coaching decisions kind of took the ball out of the offense's hands as well at the end of the half and at the end of the game, obviously. And I would say that's the one area where discouraged is probably too strong of a word, but I am nervous because I think that Lance Leipold has now proven time and again that this is who he is. This is how he is going to approach games. He is going to be conservative. He is going to play that way time and time again. You look back through history. I mean, I go back all the way back to the West Virginia game in 2022 on the road where Kansas has a 4th and 3 up 3. They could ice the game with a first down. They punt. The game ends up going to overtime. You think about last year where there were several end of half, end of game circumstances where Kansas just bungled it one way or the other. And that was part of the reason why Kansas went 5-7 last year and not 8-4. Right. So if there's one area where I'm nervous about heading into conference play, it's that I don't think Lance Leipold is going to reflect on this game and say, wow, I should have done something differently. I think he's going to reflect back on this game and say, nope, I made the right decision. We just didn't execute. And that's that. and I think he's going to continue to do that. And so, be that as it may, and I expect Kansas to play in a lot more close games this season. We will see how that plays out over the course of the year, but I am a little bit nervous about that because I don't think that Lance Leipold is going to change. Right, he is part of what makes Lance Leipold so great, and part of what has made him so great at Kansas is that he is a process-driven coach. He is going to follow his process. He is going to do exactly what his process tells him to do. When it gets to in games, sometimes I think that process he can follow it to a fault, and we've seen that on display. I think we saw it on display against Missouri. In particular, I mean, even setting analytics aside on that 4th and 7 to end the game, right? Like, even if you're not believing in that, you just have to have a feel for the game. Your defense has been Swiss cheese the whole second half because they've been gassed, right? You're giving up 7-8 yards a carry to Missouri at that point.
Right.
So it's not even about like whatever analytics tell you to do or whatever you think is best. It's just look at your defense. What was there anything over the course of the 3rd and 4th quarters that made you think they were going to get a stop? I can tell you no. Okay. So I don't really know what he's watching there. And on top of that, we all believe Jalon Daniels is the best player for Kansas. So why not go down with putting the ball in your best player's hands? I think the decision becomes a little bit more forgivable if the Kansas defense had been stopping Missouri, right? I'm not saying I would still disagree with it, but if you had been getting stops and you had been, slowing down the run game, okay, fine. Like, sure, it's a little bit more understandable, but in that circumstance, it was a real head scratcher, obviously. But again, I think if you gave Lance Leipold 10 more tries, he would have done the exact same thing 10 more times. I just think that's just how he's wired. That's his process. And again, part of that is what has made him so great at building Kansas to be what it is in terms of the process, off the field and his program building culture and whatnot. But sometimes I think it goes to a fault on the field and coaching decisions.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting too? Had Kansas gotten that stop, people would be talking about, and then Jalon Daniels went and KU wins the game or whatever. People probably wouldn't even mention the fact that KU chose to punt there, right? If KU chose to punt and then KU did get their stop and was able to go, they'll talk about the game-winning drive and Kansas goes and wins it, and people won't mention that decision at all. But since it didn't work out, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very much a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And Kevin Flaherty, my co-host on the Payne podcast, has brought this up. In 2023, Kansas went conservative against Oklahoma and punted, and the defense got a stop, and KU ended up winning that game.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's a very much a damn it if you do, damn it if you don't situation. But again, I just want to reiterate, I don't think Lance Leipold's going to change. I don't think he's going to suddenly become like a go for it type of coach in those situations. I think he's going to continue to do what he's always done in those scenarios, because that's what he believes as a coach. And so I just hope that it doesn't burn Kansas anymore this season, in the sense that hopefully maybe you're in a situation where your defense is able to get a stop in that scenario or whatever it may be. I just hope that, it doesn't burn them. And you go back to the end of half situation where Missouri gets 3 points. Really that honestly wasn't that, I mean, it was conservative, yes. But what made it dumb was dumb decisions tacked on top of more dumb decisions.
Yeah.
If you're going to go conservative, okay, that's great. Well, then Daniel Highshaw needs to make sure that he's not anywhere near the sideline where they call him out of bounds and the clock stops. If you're going to go conservative and do that, okay, well, make sure you can stop HB dive with 30 seconds left for Missouri, because Missouri was begging to go to half. They were like, yes, please, we want to go to half. Here's a handoff. And they get 35 yards. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, okay, fine. If you really want us to, I guess we'll try to score. And they kick a field goal. Like it's more than just, it was 3 or 4 things stacked on top of each other that resulted in that outcome.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily that the conservative approach was quote unquote wrong. It was just that if you're going to do that, you got to be able to execute it and not have those other mistakes happen that resulted in Missouri being able to get those points.
Yeah, well, I want to bring up a couple things that you mentioned earlier. One related to Jalon Daniels and one related to the K-State game. And I'll start with the JD thing because, like you said, you got to win the games and no excuses. You look at the box score and it's one-sided. Okay, well, Prebula was having dudes make NFL-type catches for him, and he was getting 2 different tailbacks have 100-plus yards, and they were getting the push and that sort of thing, and his numbers ended up being way better. JD on the flip side, again, I get it. No excuses, and we're going to back JD up for sure. He overthrew Emmanuel a couple times. We know that. But he also had a lot of guys drop balls, and he had his tailbacks go 9 carries, 11 yards. So he didn't have a lot of help on that front. So, his legacy, I think, as it relates to the K-State game, I think it becomes more important that you beat K-State for sure.
Absolutely.
I will continue to stress the fact that in my mind, it's not like Mizzou, which is unfortunate because JD won't face Mizzou again unless something crazy happens. But I think given the fact that KU hasn't beaten K-State 16 straight games, and you get an opportunity to face a K-State team who may be more vulnerable than most K-State teams,
I mean,
and
those
it's
boys
at home.
suck.
Yeah, they have not been good at all. So that's definitely a situation that KU's got to take advantage of. And like you said, for JD, that's going to be important. But then last thing on the game from me is related to defensively. And again, it's hard when the guys aren't playing complementary football. The defense is out there. KU gets 107 tackles to Mizzou's 47. KU didn't make Pribula uncomfortable enough, and you were hoping that the first big game for a guy who, was at Penn State, but this is his first time really getting a chance to shine bright against a quality Power 4 team. He looked comfortable throughout. Do you think that's a lot of fatigue, or do you think it was just KU not having the horses to match up with a solid offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, on the interior, I thought KU's defensive line early in the game was doing a great job. I mean, Missouri came out and they were trying to run the ball between the tackles, and it was largely not working. When you look at some of the success they had running the ball early in the game, it was to the outside. Now, as the game went on, as you mentioned, as KU's defense started to wear down, that changed. Missouri started finding more success running the ball in between the tackles as well. But yeah, I think KU came in with a game plan of trying to contain Beau Pribula. Everyone wanted to talk about his legs going into that game, and so that was KU's game plan. I think you saw Dean Miller and Leroy Harris acting as a spy a lot of times on Beau Pribula, and basically daring him to beat them with his arm, which he did. He made a lot of really quality NFL throws. So I think to me, I felt like that was more of a strategy from KU of not wanting Beau Pribula to burn them with his legs. And then later in the game, they actually did try to blitz him a little bit more. The 4th and 1 play, they sent an all-out blitz and ends up they didn't get there in time to him, and they had the wide open tight end for a touchdown. So, I think with the defense, I was encouraged by the corners, I would say. When you consider the level of wide receiver they were going against, guys like Austin Alexander, who's a young player, Jalen Todd, obviously. DJ Graham has shown, I think, that he's a really excellent run support corner. I don't know how great he is specifically in coverage.
Yeah.
But I was, certainly, I think I was encouraged by that. And then
he is that one insane interception. That's about all I know about his coverage.
Yeah. Well, and then, obviously the other story of the defense was the linebacker situation, right? I mean, the questions about Bengali Kamara, I'm watching him warm up. I'm like, that looks like a dude that's going to play quite a bit. And then sure enough, after the first drive, he ends up playing a majority of the game. I think finished the game with 9 tackles.
Yeah, Kamara and Lathan are real guys, you know.
So the fact that they were able to play is very encouraging. And that kind of ties into what I had mentioned earlier, which is KU, I think, has a chance coming off this bye week to be more healthy than they were to start the season. You're getting Bengali Kamara another chance to recover from his injury or whatever his status may be. You hope that Joe Sipp may be able to finally have a chance to get on the field a little bit to add to the depth of the linebacker room. I continue to believe that the defensive tackles are the strength of this team with Tommy Dunn, DJ Withers, Blake Harold, Keenan Gallawa. Well, guess what? We haven't even seen Gage Keys yet. I mean, he's a guy that you're going to hopefully add into that rotation as well. So I feel pretty actually decent about the defense, all things considered. I think if you were to just watch the game without looking at the stats or knowing the stats, I think you'd be surprised to find that the stats were that lopsided, right? I mean, watching the game didn't feel like, oh my God, Missouri has 600 total yards and Kansas has 250 total yards. It didn't feel that way watching the game live. I mean, you could tell that the KU defense was certainly wearing down and becoming less effective over the course of the game. But overall, again, I think Missouri's the best team that they're going to play all season. And I think Beau Pribula proved that he's the real deal. I mean, I think it was fair to question him heading into the game. And now I think it's fair to say, yeah, he's the real deal. And beyond that, Missouri, you look at their SEC schedule, there is a very rare chance that they win double-digit 11 games and probably go to the SEC championship game and probably put themselves in position to potentially make the college football playoff. And you lose that game in a situation where you had the lead in the fourth quarter, that stadium was even more juiced because of the rivalry and all that and the viciousness of it. And you were there with a chance to take it in the end. Okay. It sucks that you lost, but now you have a chance to mentally reset. And again, I mentioned this even before the game. I felt like going into it, really both teams could easily talk themselves into saying, you know what, we lost, but screw it. Our whole season's in front of us. And that's exactly where I feel like Kansas is at right now. Obviously you never want to lose to Missouri. I mean, I can't stand those people. Anyways,
join the club.
Yeah. But the point being, Now you have a bye week, and you're 0-0 going into conference play with a chance to, in another season where it appears that the Big 12 conference is going to be relatively wide open, you have a chance to go put yourself in position to play for Arlington. And I think that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, 100%. Nick Springer joins the show here in studio, and I wanted to kind of piggyback off that because, obviously sucks you lost to Mizzou, but at the same time, you are going into a bye week.
Spell their own damn school name.
I know, right?
It's
Yeah,
so stupid.
Where do the Z's come from? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they're just idiots.
I did want to. So if you could, because I know we're a little tight on time, but if you could pick one facet of the Kansas game from what you saw against Missouri, whether it be establishing the run, whether it be, the defensive front getting more pressure, what do you want to see the most improvement in coming out of this bye week heading into West Virginia?
I mean, I think I would look offensively. It became kind of apparent that Cam Pickett seemed to be not 100%. I think he only played 14 snaps in the game against Missouri, so whatever he may have been dealing with. But I think the receivers, you got to look at the receivers. I mean, with the connection with Jalen Daniels, right? Whether it's drop passes or whatever the chemistry may be with Emmanuel Henderson, get Cam Pickett healthy. Levi Wentz made a great catch, but he's up and down. Bryson Canty, I don't even think hardly played in the game against Missouri. So you look at the receivers. If you get those guys back healthy, get them going, and hopefully build that chemistry with Jalen Daniels. That's where I would look, because I am going to choose right now to view the lack of run game for Kansas as a blip. I'm not expecting that to be an issue long term or even short term. I'm not expecting that to be an issue. I'm expecting Kansas to be able to go out against West Virginia in 2 weeks and run the ball effectively. Now, if they don't do that, then yes, I'm going to say, okay, something's off here. We have some issues here. But I'm going to choose to believe that was just sort of a one-off situation, that they were struggling with the ground game. And so I'm not concerned about that personally.
Well, you got to like the opportunity to have an open week now. And West Virginia, they got to deal with the backyard brawl, which we know is always a rivalry game that we
West
look
Virginia's
forward to.
best player, Jaheim White, is going to be out for I think the rest of the season.
They just lost to Ohio, so I'd imagine you like us in that spot. Is it a fair last thing for you? Because I said this, and it's kind of what I've settled on as I've digested this game the past couple of days. That it seemed like KU played a C+ type game for what we could see.
Agreed. They did not play an A game.
And Mizzou, who knows moving forward, but they didn't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, they were somewhere in the A's. They had the fumble from Pribula, and KU took advantage of that, but they were methodically getting down. And also, I don't know if you heard the show yesterday, but something people don't talk about, shout out to David Lawrence for bringing this up. They didn't have a kicker, really. So they didn't have hesitation to go for it on fourth down, which kept KU's defense out there.
I firmly believe that Drinkwitz would have been way softer if he had a kicker.
Yeah, you don't have some.
He's gonna go up there and be like, "Oh well, I made the right decisions. I'm an aggressive coach."
You don't have some powerful.
That's a really good drink impression, by the way.
No, you're only because you don't have a kicker. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have powerful people, if you will. Let's be honest. That's kind of how it is, and college athletics. You don't have powerful people saying, why is he not just taking the points right here? We need to get the point. I mean, you're playing loose because, I don't have a kicker. I'm just playing, which whatever, it's credit to them. They made all the plays, it seemed like, and played a cleaner, better football game. But we got to move past it eventually and get West Virginia here a week from Saturday. Nick Springer, Kansas City Sports Network. Appreciate you coming on, man. And we'll chat soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. I never want to talk about Missouri again.
Hey, I'm totally with you there. Sign us up. More Alcaraz Center chat after this. Rock Talk Sports. Rock Talk Sports rolls on after this. Thanks for watching on KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. Thanks again for listening as well on ESPN Kansas City on 94.5 FM and 1510 AM. We're going to take you through a look at the top 25, sort of put a bow on college football week 2. This is what I was thinking of earlier today, Daniel. It's going to be 2 weeks ahead now, college football and NFL. All right?
That's right.
So next week, this upcoming week, will be
week 4.
Week 3.
3.
Right?
Yes.
Week 3 of college football.
Yes.
So am I wrong? I'm wrong.
No, you're right. Because KU played week 0, then week 1, then week 2.
So week 3.
Week
okay,
3.
so it's 1 week ahead because NFL is going to be week 2.
Right.
Yes. So
yeah,
week 7 of college football will be week 6 of NFL. It's been very confusing because of week
Week
0,
zero,
KU playing and all that. But anyway, we're going to recap week 2 of college football in the top 25. But first, we're going to hear from KU linebacker Trey Lathan. Lathan with 13 tackles in a game where Kansas as a whole had 107. Here's everything Trey Lathan said post-game, the loss on Saturday.
Yeah, linebacker Trey Lathan.
Trey, you guys were on the field a lot most of the second quarter. How do you kind of deal with that challenge, I guess, when you're just seemingly endlessly out there for a really long stretch of time?
For us, it's kind of normal for us because of the way we practice. Coach Lipos does a great job of making sure we're tempoing through drills, and just we practice that, so that was easy to us.
You guys held them to field goals on both drives there before the half. Just how did you feel about yourself? You were out there so long, but then you're still look up and you're tied going into halftime.
And then at the end of the day, the ball game was still 0-0 to us. We still had 30 minutes left to play. We knew the game wasn't over, and just holding the 2 field goals that says a lot because the things that happened, and we just went out there and fought, and so.
What was the response to their first drive? I mean, they kind of marched on that first drive, scored the touchdown, and the next thing you know, you guys really stiffened up from there.
I guess it's just us getting our feet wet. Just seeing their game plan, seeing how they're gonna do things, and we tightened up after that.
Nick Ollie came back and played.
Yes, sir.
Just let's talk about the week first. What was your vantage point of how he worked through the week and working to get back to being able to play?
Well, Bengali did what he's supposed to do. He stayed in treatment. He did all the right things, making sure he was in the building a lot. With the trainers, just ready to get back. He did a lot of work, and I'm proud of him today.
Lance said he told him, "Coach, I'm playing." I'm sure he told you similar.
Yeah.
When did you first hear that from him, and did you believe him?
He practiced on Monday for a little bit, just running around, and then eventually throughout the week he started putting the pads on and started doing tackling drills and stuff like that. So we knew he was going to be good.
How challenging is it, I guess, morale-wise for defense when you give up some of those 4th downs and the long 3rd downs you guys did?
It hurts, but we got to play next play mentality because at the end of the day, that play happened, but we still got a whole game to finish. So,
what do you take away from this? I mean, fans are going to take one thing, their side's going to take something else. What do you guys take away?
We're a really good football team. Being the underdogs, holding the SEC team, down to their core. So, I had old teammates over there. They're telling me they were scared for a bit. So we got a really good football team ahead of us, and we're ready for conference play.
After a game like this, what's Coach Leipold's message to you guys?
Just staying together. The things that we do are not going to change just because we lost. We still got 10 more games, so we're going to be all right.
How do you approach this upcoming bye week?
Just getting back to our basics because we had a lot of penalties that killed us, so definitely gonna be working hard at that. Just staying together, not letting this linger around the locker room for too much because like I said before, we got conference play.
What was your perspective on the fumble return touchdown? Mason makes the hit. I think Blake got it out.
Yeah.
Where were you? What'd you see? And
I was happy because I was actually on the backside of the play, and I just seen him running, and I just immediately tried to block somebody.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think Missouri put 250+ yards on rushing. How difficult were they to kind of defend against?
They did a great job. Hats off to those guys. They had a scheme. They stuck to it, and they were consistent at it. And we just got to go out there and stop it next time. So
you're not the first player to face a former teammate like you did today, and I know you guys didn't necessarily square off. But what's that like to look over there? Guy you went to war with the last couple of years, and to see him. Different colors, you're in different colors, you're going against each other now. What's that like just for you personally?
It honestly didn't feel real because, being with him for 2 years, he was my roommate on the road and stuff like that. So it honestly didn't feel real for a little bit. But then, like I said, he was just texting me all week, just blowing my phone up, annoying me. So
Right. Yeah. Did you see him pregame at all? Or
no, I didn't see him pregame. He was lucky I didn't see him pregame.
Looking at the D line in front of you, those guys were in the backfield a lot. What did you see from where that unit?
They did a great job. I'm proud of my guys. We had a game plan of staying vertical, and they did just that. Disrupting the quarterback. Getting back there on a lot of tackle for losses. So I'm proud of those guys. I'm thankful for them too.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, Trey.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Couple days ago. We're going to take a look around the top 25 as they were ranked before the games this past weekend. Dan, what are some noteworthy scores?
From from this
Yes,
past
week
weekend.
2.
Yeah, I guess I'll go through that. I had the AP pulled up as of right now. The biggest one that I did want to get to was Clemson and Troy. As you said, we were talking a little bit about this off air. Troy was up on Clemson at halftime. They came back and they won
16-3.
Yes, but then Clemson came back and won 27-16. So pitched a shutout after halftime. Clemson actually dropped 4 spots after that. They're 1-1 right now after losing to LSU, who's bouncing around the top 5. They're number 3 in the AP right now. They're also number 4 in the coaches poll, just below Georgia, who did not receive a single vote. LSU actually received 1 vote in the AFCA coaches poll. So interesting stuff there. That's probably the biggest one, at least from last week. As we know, there's Miami Notre Dame. That was a big game that happened as well. A lot of really exciting games. Obviously, there's Iowa State and Iowa that happened over this past weekend. They play every single year, and that one really came down to the wire. Iowa State came out on top in that one. Now they're 3-0. They moved up a couple spots there at number 14 in the nation right now. The biggest thing from this weekend, I think, is Southern Florida. South Florida, I guess, is what they're actually called. USF. They're 18 right now. They've beaten 2 ranked teams in Boise State in week 1, as well as Florida, the flagship school, this week.
And they beat remind me the opponent before Florida.
Boise State.
Boise State. They completely ran a train through Boise State in one of college football's first games that took place this season. And then 18-16, a game-winning field goal in the swamp to knock off Florida. So shout out to USF on that front. The other thing, and this is part of why it wasn't as big of a week in terms of top 25 excitement this past weekend is, well, you had 3 teams score 70. Tennessee scored 72. Ohio State rather scored 70. And you also had 73 points put forth by Alabama. So 73-0, Alabama wins. 70-0, Ohio State wins. Tennessee beat East Tennessee 72-17. So you don't see that a lot. But there were a lot of Big 12 teams, as we discussed yesterday, ranked in the top 25 that had the most entertaining games. Talking about Iowa and then Baylor knocking off number 17 SMU in double overtime.
Yeah, that was huge. And shout out to Dave Aranda, right? I mean, I don't think he's on the hot seat anymore. I think that before last year he certainly was. And then
that was a big win for him. Yeah,
it was a big win for him because everyone kind of thought, including me, I thought Auburn was going to be bad this year, and Auburn went out in Waco and wound up beating Baylor. So that was a big time win for Dave Aranda and company. And I believe we talked about this, but there was a Big 12, Big 10 game that happened that last weekend, and they almost scored 70. Oregon, Oklahoma State.
70 was the number. Florida State beat East Texas A&M 77-3. Oregon couldn't quite get there though against Mike Gundy's
Oregon
crew.
got 69 on the Cowboys, and
it's tough to see that.
Do you think Mike Gundy ever gets fired?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there a world
I doubt
where
it.
Gundy ever gets fired?
He hasn't gotten a great draw, of course, with losing his quarterback. But yeah, they went 0-9 in the Big 12 last year when they were picked to finish in the top 4. So that's not a good look. But you see the fact that Kansas has them at home as well. Like we've been, I don't want to say salivating over West Virginia and Cincinnati, but those are beatable teams that Kansas gets at home the first couple weeks of conference play. And then you have Oklahoma State at home later this year. And you take them one game at a time. And obviously we saw what happened last year. But when you see that and you see a lot of vulnerable teams, K-State's a vulnerable team right now. Maybe that'll be different in a month and a half, but you can count up some wins on paper, right? Games aren't played on paper, but there are some winnable games for Kansas, and we know that Kansas is better. Obviously, Nick Springer said a little bit earlier in the show he thinks that the team that just beat Kansas is the best team that Kansas will face all year. If that's the case, then you roll the dice because KU didn't even play their B game in Columbia.
That's right. Yeah, no, they absolutely didn't. I think you said it best about how they probably played C+ against Missouri, and that's unfortunately what I saw as well, right? I mean, the wide receivers weren't good. There's a lot of things that could have gone way better for this Kansas squad. And I mean, look, we talked about it all leading up this week is that, hey, the winner of this game is going to be ranked. And Missouri, obviously, in the top 25 in the AP, not in the coaches poll. BYU actually took the 25th spot there. Arizona State's still ranked in the coaches poll. They're not ranked anymore, at least in the AP. So a lot of difference between the coaches poll and the AP, which I do tend to like to see.
Not a letdown week for Florida State. As I said, one of the many teams who scored 77-3 for the number 14 ranked Seminoles after defeating Alabama in a big way in an emotional game last week. Any other noteworthy things from the top 25 before we kick it to our final break, Daniel?
Yeah, so Michigan, they dropped 8 spots for this week after losing to Oklahoma, which I thought is a little harsh because Oklahoma's still a really good squad. They actually jumped up 5 spots from 18 to 13. And like I said, Michigan dropping all the way down to number 23, dropping 8 spots. That's the biggest drop out of anybody that we've seen so far. Arizona State dropped 14 in the coaches poll, and they dropped completely out in the AP. So that's not what you want to see from Arizona State, especially after losing a tough game against an SEC opponent in Mississippi State. I mean, I still like Sam Levitt. I still like Kenny Dillingham. I think they're just trying to figure it out. Obviously, without Cam Scatterbo, they lost a couple of key pieces on their defense as well. So I still am really high on Arizona State, but they're only ranked 24th right now in the coaches poll, not even ranked in the AP poll. So as of right now in the AP poll, there's only 3 Big 12 teams, with Iowa State leading that at number 14. Then you got Utah at number 20, who again looks really good. Devin Dampier is a very good quarterback. And then number 21, Texas Tech, who Springer said it earlier, he's not completely bought in. I might be bought in. I think Texas Tech is a damn good football team.
Hey, they aren't playing Kent State every week, I'll tell you that much. Hey,
True.
After this, we are going to talk a little Monday Night Football as we put a bow on last week of college football. Everything we discussed moving forward is pretty much going to be about the upcoming schedule as football. We don't have any tonight, don't have any tomorrow. It's going to be here before we know it. And Dan, I think you like this time of year, don't you?
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
More
It's like
after
Christmas
this.
every day.
Thanks for watching KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City.
This is Dale Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Talk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Big shout out to Gabe Boucher and Easton John running the production here today. Also want to recognize Miles Schneer and everybody over at Crown Automotive for their partnership. Really appreciate all the good people over there helping make this possible. Rock Chalk Sports, one of many shows that'll be featured here on Kansas Nation. Talked about Greg Gurley a little bit earlier in the show. Greg Gurley, Mick Schaefer will have a show. You're going to hear from Pat Strothman out of Wichita. You're going to hear from Brandon McAnderson, Chris Harris Jr. You've got the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Haney with Haney and the Hawks, and more here on Kansas Nation. So make sure you stay up to date on all of our socials and on KansasNation.com. Those weekly shows are going to be really, really special. Hey, let's talk a little Monday Night Football, Dan. Talked at the beginning of the show how I know that you had liked the Vikings in this one.
That's right.
J.J. McCarthy and over, and weirdly enough, that actually happened. It was 17-6. Toward the end of the third quarter, the Bears were leading. It was looking like your pal Caleb Williams, was going to deliver in the opening week for Chicago. But Bears fans, boy, do they know disappointment. And that happened again. And you got to credit J.J. McCarthy. I mean, he's won at every level he's played football at. ESPN certainly documented that.
Yes.
And he got it done.
Yeah, 100%. He only lost one game in college, which is absolutely insane to me. But yeah, no, this game was a lot of fun. Like I said, I did like the Vikings, and I did like the over. Did not look like that was going to happen. Caleb Williams actually looked really good. I thought he looked mobile too. He was getting flushed out of the pocket a little bit. So there's obviously some still work to be done for the Chicago Bears offensive line. But I thought Caleb Williams made the most out of kind of his situation, right? I thought that he did look good. He went 21 of 35, 210, had a touchdown, right? I thought he played okay. J.J. McCarthy started off horrible start for J.J. McCarthy. And then out of nowhere, by the way, I did have the 2 bets that I gave on air hit. And I know I've said this before, but I did also have J.J. McCarthy over 2 touchdowns.
Tell me a little bit more about your fantasy
having
team.
3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. 3 touchdowns in the
fans
fourth
are dying
quarter.
to know about your fantasy team.
So I actually, funny enough, I'm glad that you brought this up. I won both of my leagues, both games in my leagues. Shout out to Calvin and Brian. I played both of those guys. I did have Xavier Worthy on one of my teams. Anyway, I'll stop talking about Stop talking about my fantasy team. But yeah, I mean, this game was a lot of fun to watch. Jordan Mason, I thought had a really good game in that rushing attack. Kevin O'Connell he does not get enough credit for the work that he has done with the Vikings. I mean, essentially making Sam Darnold $100 million man when he was sort of shipped off into non-existence, into sort of backup land. All of a sudden, he gets Sam Darnold and he turns him into a very solid quarterback. Got him $100 million payday. So, I mean, that's just a testament to what he's been able to do, because I don't think Sam Darnold's a good quarterback at all. And with Michigan, similar to how I feel about Will Howard, I thought that J.J. McCarthy was the 22nd best starter on Michigan's football team in that national championship winning team. I genuinely thought that was the case, but I think J.J. McCarthy is turning out to be a reasonably good quarterback, especially when you have guys like Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson, right? And Jordan Addison's going to be back on our squad after, I believe, 3-game suspension.
I think it's 5.
Is it 5?
I'd have to double check that.
Whatever it may
he's
be.
a weapon too.
Still a very good wide receiver. So yeah, overall a lot of fun to watch that game last night. I love the NFC North is just full of history. It's so fun to watch.
You know, and people give Joe Buck and Troy Aikman a lot of stuff, but Troy Aikman, I thought he had a really good point when McCarthy had thrown the interception and they went down 17-6 to the Vikings. McCarthy went over to his offensive lineman, and who knows what the respect looks like on that front, because he's the one who just threw the pick. They're down by 11. Nobody's happy. And then he leads the Vikings to victory. And a lot of it was because of him. J.J. McCarthy, Aikman said those guys are going to be looking at him a little bit different this week, and I think I agree on that front. Yeah, that win was all about McCarthy, and like you talked about, I mean, really, really good coaching as well. We'll see what happens. I know the Vikings are your boys. All right, that's going to do it for Rock Chalk Sports here today. Again, a shout out to Gabe Boucher and Easton John running the production. Looking forward to be back on the air tomorrow, 4 to 6. We're going to have the California Kid on, Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, and the Lawrence Journal World. Check out KansasNation.com. For Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman. We'll chat with you then.